I think that was when I got Diaz because I was getting hurt in the saves column and
Yeah, I think that's what it was. You texted me that. My fantasy team had an all-time choke job today. I was up like 10 or 20 points going into the final day, and my pitchers went negative 21. So that was
golly,
a solid day for the squad. Really excited about it.
Yikes.
Yeah. But like you were saying, though, Lester is just kind of quietly having a brilliant year. And another thing, too, is Schilling. He was 37 years old when he arrived in Boston. How crazy is that?
He pitched. I mean, he was ageless, and it goes back to even funnier thing where, we said we don't pay pitchers over 30, and we had Schilling come in, at 37, and he pitched for a while, and then we signed David Price, who was like 31 or 32. We wouldn't give that money to Lester, who's 34 right now. 2 years left on his deal, then a vesting option, but, if you didn't want him, you just do what you did with Hanley and just DFA him. You don't even pay him for the next year after that. But, he's 34 right now, and he'll be 36 in 2 years with that vesting option coming up after that. So, it was a bonehead decision then. It's still a bonehead decision now.
Yeah.
Price has been pitching so well this year, and he's really crushing it, but I'd still rather have John Lester for the past, 4 years, and what he's doing this year over David Price.
Well, and it's so weird because, there was a point during the offseason I was like, there's no way that Lester's not coming back.
Right.
Yeah, right?
It's like they're not dumb enough just to let him walk.
No, it was the best, too, because I was like, oh, my God, we traded him we got Cespedes, and we're just going to get Lester back in free agency. This is great.
Chapman deal before the Chapman deal.
Yeah, we got our ace, and we get an outfielder of the future, play left field, play right field. He's got Cannon. This is awesome.
Well, I remember the night he signed. It didn't get announced until the middle of the night, and I actually didn't stay up that late. But I refreshed, my Twitter feed and everything, MLB trade rumors, just a record number of times, just waiting to see if the deal was going to get done with Boston, because I thought we were in it, going into that day, and the Cubs were in play. And then the Giants earlier in the day, probably about 4 or 5 p.m., kind of going into that night, said, we're out of it. He told us we were out of it because another team is tugging on his heartstrings. That was the exact wording from the Giants front office. And so I'm thinking, oh, we got this.
We won.
Yeah, exactly. And then he signs with the Cubs. And for a week I was mad at him. I was like, how dare you? How dare you sign with another team? And then I'm like, once I mellowed out, I'm like, why wouldn't he sign with another team? The way they treated him. And you mentioned David Price, how we got him, at the start, coming into the 2016 season. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, why didn't we just make that decision a year sooner and go after Scherzer? That would have been a great signing. But the problem was the front office was too stubborn at that point, because they're like, well, we can't just offer Lester, $70 million and then go $210 on Scherzer. So I think it was the timing of it was kind of why they probably never even considered Scherzer.
Oh, it was their egos.
Yeah.
That's all it came down to being, because Lester opened up his mouth and said, I'll take a hometown discount. That's why he got offered $470. It wasn't because they thought he was worth it. They said, oh, we can fuck this guy even more now because he's, he'll take the hometown discount. But John Lester, $470, he got $155 with the Cubs. And he got to go to the Cubs with a GM he liked, players he liked. That's why
budding team.
Yeah, that fun team. That's why it was pulling on his heartstrings when he was doing it. And, why wouldn't he? And I agree with you, Terry. I was happy for him when he signed with the Cubs because, I like the Cubs anyway, but, he did everything for this team. And then he says, all right, I know I'm getting traded. I'm okay with it. He gets traded and still says, I'll still take a hometown discount for the boys. And then he gets $470, and he's like, you know what? I don't like that offer, but I might actually take it. He didn't want to go to San Francisco. If the Cubs didn't say anything, he would have been on the team for $470.
Yeah, I don't know. Epstein was quoted as saying right around the time of the signing that he was basically begging Lester to come to Chicago, and Lester's an outdoorsman, and Epstein knew that, and he said, "I will soak myself in deer urine if it gets you to come to Boston, come back to Chicago." So,
well, and he also was quoted as saying he wasn't going to lose to Boston in a bidding war.
No, he wouldn't, and
okay.
he would have given him 6,200 if he had to.
Yeah, it was an ego thing with Theo at that point. He was like, "I'm not going to lose to these guys."
Yeah.
And it was an ego thing in a good way with Theo, which he wouldn't lose his guy. And the Red Sox were too interested
loyalty,
in money off bricks, selling bricks for the 100th anniversary, stupid shit like that, than actually paying their players, which it frustrates me. It goes back to my thing. People complain, how can you complain about your owner if you're a cap team? And I'm a big Bruins guy, big hockey guy, and I complain about the Bruins owner all the time, Jeremy Jacobs, because he is so annoying with his money and his contracts and stuff like that. And people are like, "Oh, well, he's a cap player. You're a cap team." It's where you spend your money that is frustrating. And 470 is an insult, and then signing David Price that contract, stupid spending the cap money. I'd rather not have the contract and be under a cap team than be a cap team with that contract.
Especially where Price is the polar opposite of Lester, who always thrived in the month of October. And up here, I listen to a Portland station for my sports radio more than I do. We get WEI up here, but I still find myself listening to the Portland station more. And a frequent topic of debate throughout all of 2013, because we didn't know we were going to win the World Series. Like, I wasn't thinking that until probably late August, when I was thinking
there was no shot.
Yeah, it was. We had a good series with Detroit in late August, and then that's what got me thinking. Okay, because I'm like doom and gloom. I'm like, okay, we're doing well now, but it's just we're gonna shit the bed at some point. Well, we'll make the playoffs, but we're just not gonna contend for a World Series. And then, so a frequent topic of debate was, is John Lester truly an ace? And, and some people thought he was, and others thought he was more of just a strong number two. Because, he was behind Beckett for most of that. And then Lackey should have been, up there, but he was kind of damaged goods until 2013. But yeah, and I didn't have strong feelings one way or the other, but going into that year, you had Lester and Lackey, and then we were hoping to get Buchholz back, and we did, but he wasn't quite the same as he was earlier in the year, and I was lukewarm on the Peavy thing, and I don't think he was really that critical for us. Like, I think he pitched the clinching game against the Rays that got us into the ALCS, and then I think it was all losses after that with him. But I guess maybe he gave us the peace of mind that at least you had a semi-solid guy in the middle there. But Lester was was basically the number one, whether you thought he was or not, and that postseason really thrusted him up there with some of the best of our era, at least in terms of the month of October. He's just a great postseason pitcher, and then like you said, we turn around and we get a guy who sucks in the month of October, and and that remains to be seen. Maybe this will be David Price's John Lackey year, where he kind of wins over the Boston crowd, the people like me, I should say. I think David, you kind of like him, more than I do, but
yeah, that's not hard to do.
Right.
Coming into this year, I did not like the David Price signing because I don't believe in him in the month of October, and I didn't think he was worth that money. And coming into this year, I'm a big David Price hater, but last year he showed that he can pitch in the bullpen and he could be versatile, which I liked. And this year he's showing that he obviously can still pitch, and he's starting to work some other pitches in. He's learning how to be a little bit of a pitcher. So I am starting to like him more. And if he shows up in the playoffs this year, I'll love him. If he says I'll go in the bullpen, if he does what he did last year, I'll love him even more. And he can definitely have his John Lackey year. To go back on Lester real quick before we move on, because I know we probably have to wrap up here sooner than later.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about John Lester, obviously, the month of October, he's amazing. Playoffs, he's amazing. And you trust him in that situation. He's had 2 bad years in his entire career. Only 2. 2012, he had a 4.82 ERA in 200 innings. That's a bad year. He came back the next year and had a 3.76 ERA in 2013, and then was amazing in October, held records for lowest ERA in the World Series, and was our playoff MVP from the ALDS all the way through World Series. His second worst year was last year. He pitched only 180 innings, and he had a 4.33 ERA. This year, so far, he's at 83 innings at a 2.28. He has come back in his 2 years that he's struggled and set records in 2013, won a World Series, and now this year, at his age, coming back and being one of the best pitchers for the Cubs, if not the best pitcher for the Cubs this year. As the Cubs are struggling with Quintana, who's struggling, Darvish, who's one of the worst, as of right now, signings they've had ever. It just goes to show you what the kind of character the guy's had, and the guy just is a gamer.
Yeah, and don't sleep on Quintana, because he had a 2.82 ERA coming into tonight in his last 5 starts, and I
like Quintana. I think he's just similar to Sonny Gray, where once he figures it out, he's got the stuff. He's young enough, and he has the team around him that he can really, really be good and way better. I mean, Quintana's got a great contract, just like Sonny Gray. Quintana 2 more years at 10 million, 10.5 club options. So he's there if they want him there.
That's a perfect comparison too, because Sonny Gray's they're both going to be really good.
So much potential.
Yeah, and I think they will. They're going to have their ups and downs. I think Darvish was a bad contract signing anyway, but
desperation though.
Yeah, that was desperation. That was their David Price thing there, because they're in win now mode too, because they're just like the Yankees and the Red Sox. They have trouble with contracts. Speaking of the Red Sox, this is a Red Sox podcast. Hey, we got 3 games against the Twins, and I fully accept 2 out of 3, if not a sweep. I don't know about you guys.
We're big on those series wins.
Yeah, it'll probably be 2 out of 3, but it should be a sweep based on the rotation that we have. I mean, arguably our 3 best anyway. Other than maybe
I agree.
Porcello.
I think it'll be 2 out of 3, and then I think we take 2 out of 3 against Seattle as well. I think we played Seattle really well, and we had they had a really lucky start with LeBlanc, and I think that the bullpen won't blow it like they did. So I expect the next 2 series to be series wins, and it to look really close going into the Angels and Yankees series, division race wise.
I think let's see, it's going to be, not to look too far ahead, but I think it's semi-relevant. So against Seattle, it will be Erod, Wright, and Sale. So
it's a good 3.
Yeah,
I mean, Erod and Wright pitched great against Seattle just now, so I assume they would do that again, and Sale. So I like those.
I was hoping Price would be in there, but he's going to miss it by a game.
Is there a bad option at this point?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
There really is no bad option at this point, and the Yankees. The only thing that scares me about the Yankees is it's going to come down to we're randomly going to be sitting here one day and we're going to be like, man, the Red Sox have an off day. That's nice. Oh, look, the Yankees going to play a doubleheader today, doubleheader tomorrow, and then all of a sudden they're going to.
They're 4 games up.
Yeah, they're 4 games up, and we played like 1 game.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Twins numbers here, though. They're
underachieving.
Well, I'm just looking at their starters. Barrios has exactly a 3.0 ERA in his last 3 starts.
He started to turn it around.
Yeah,
really, really well.
Tons of
We need to
strikeouts.
put that on pause.
Lance Lynn is going up against Price. I kind of like that because Price, he's just our best pitcher right now. So, but Lynn is kind of getting back to form. He's typically like a 275 to 325 guy perennially. Not a lot of velocity.